Hello, everybody. Welcome to Octopunk Monthly Update for what will be December. I am out of town this time next week, or otherwise we would have had an Octopunk Monthly Update for December. In December, on December 1st, it would have been great, but we're going to do a pre-Thanksgiving OpMoo here. So technically, probably not the last OpMoo of the year, because I think the next one's going to be on like December 30th. It's going to be right at the end there. But for all intents and purposes, really like the last 2024 Octopunk Monthly Update. And we've actually got some pretty cool stuff to announce today. For one, my holiday card, which has been a yearly tradition since 2019, where essentially I get as many collaborators as possible to sign a holiday themed Iggy. It seems to be the same sort of central design every year. I Christmas him up in different ways. And then also the reveal of one of our micro shorts that is a new stretch goal for Octopunks. So let me elaborate on that a little bit. As you can see down here, we are already at 16,500 for Octopunks, which is 110% of our $15,000 goal. Thank you to everybody who helped us totally smash that, by the way. Like, give yourselves a little round of applause at home, because this is absolutely phenomenal that, you know, with 9 days to go, we have not only met our goal, but exceeded it by $1,500. And honestly, like, this is about where we need to be able to cover all our bills without, like, cutting corners, and being able to include all the people that we want to include, being able to afford people's flights, all that sort of stuff. Because there are a couple of crew and cast members who are coming in from out of town. So I want to be able to, in addition to paying them a fair wage, also be able to cover their travel expenses and not make them have to drive, 12, 15 hours in a car from Chicago or wherever. So, yeah, it's about where we need to be. But there are still more things that we want to do, and more website expenses, and also further investments that I would like to make in the company itself, particularly equipment wise, because we're going to be doing these shoots probably every single year, if not multiple times per year in the coming years. Renting equipment is going to start to become a little silly and not cost effective. But if you're talking, a $14 or a $4,000 camera package or something like that, that's not something that you can just go and buy. So that is sort of like what I want to use a $20,000 stretch goal for, is investing in some equipment to be able to save money down the line, to not have to rent, a camera package for $1,000 or $2,000 every single year, every time we want to do shoots. And also having like a really good camera package in-house allows me to be able to share that with Summers for her movies, MJ for their movies, Michael for his movies, anybody who, wants to be able to like be within the Octopunk extended family and want to have good gear to be able to make their art, makes it a little easier for us to do that. But as a reward for a $20,000 stretch goal, I do want to offer you guys something, not something that just benefits us. And my pledge is basically, you guys voted on this. I did a poll, the second place runner-up was quite tied, but the first place by a mile, by like 50% of the votes really across all platforms, was you wanted to see me make a trilogy of new horror micro shorts. I've had a couple ideas for some horror shorts that are just very simple. It's basically like one actor in a scenario for 4 or 5 minutes. And I've sort of needed the motivation to make them. So I think that this is probably a good motivation for me to get out and do that. They're not going to be too expensive, especially if I, again, have my own camera package to be able to like DP these movies myself. And I do want to announce like the first idea that I have, like the first movie that I would want to make. The other two, I know what one of them will be. I'll probably announce it probably the Octopunks Showcase. If we make the goal, I will announce it at the Octopunks Showcase in I guess January or February. And then the third one, I'm not sure when I'll know what that is going to be. There's a couple that I want to make for the third one, but every idea I have is slightly complicated. So I'm kind of trying to debate like how complicated and time consuming do I want that third movie to be. We'll see. I'll write a couple things and explore and see if I can't come to an idea of what that third one's going to be. But the second one I also know for sure. The first one I can tell you about today. Now this is, I want to say this is also based on a true story. And if my mom is in the chat, she'll laugh because she knows that she knows where this came from, and she's actually the person who told me that I should make it into a horror short. That was not my original idea. Originally, it was just a goofy thing that happened to me that I thought, oh, whatever, I'll just like tell this as a funny story. But yes, I do actually think it could make a funny short film. This is called The Tourist Trap. So imagine if TripAdvisor was evil. That's basically the stunt for what is The Tourist Trap. So this would be the first of 3 micro shorts that will be made for sure if we get into if we hit that $20,000 goal for Octopunks in the next 9 days. Now, granted, that we're only 3,500 away, so that's pretty cool. We're really close to this already. But essentially, the story behind this, that is an actual picture of the Central State Asylum in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is where Austin is currently going to school to be a music therapist. And he's actually, I think, been to this place a couple times. I've also seen it in person. Because he is in therapy, and apparently they consider this asylum half abandoned. It's like abandoned, but also like they still kind of work there. Like the music therapists still work there sometimes, regular therapists still work there. And so the story behind this is essentially when Austin first moved to Milledgeville to go to school. Milledgeville's in the middle of nowhere, by the way. Like there's nothing to do there. But when I was gonna visit him, I looked up on TripAdvisor, like, I was basically like, hey, so what is there to do in Milledgeville? Because I want to, like, if I'm going to be here, maybe we should go do something. And there's nothing other than the Central State Asylum, which is apparently, like, the biggest, oldest, like, most haunted. Like, it's super, super historic for some reason. But it is, like, Milledgeville, that and Flannery O'Connor's house are, like, Milledgeville's 2 claims to fame. And so essentially I saw on TripAdvisor, like, the #1 destination was that picture, this exact picture. That is the asylum. This is literally the picture that's on TripAdvisor. It's very funny. So I was like, yeah, no thanks. But then I ended up somehow on TripAdvisor's mailing list. And so they started sending me every other day these incessant, like, creepy emails that say stuff like, I can show you guys, actually. It's really funny. Like, pick up where you left off. And it would just be like a picture of the asylum, or things in Milledgeville that make you go side-eye emoji. Picture of the asylum. Let us do the details. Picture the asylum. And, like, it just got increasingly, like, urgent. Like, increasingly, like, they really needed, like, yeah, Milledgeville, here you come. Picture of the asylum. So my mom was like, you should make a short film where essentially it's somebody who just keeps getting these emails from the asylum, but they get even more, like, creepy. Like, they get even more just, like, intense until eventually it escalates to something even more, like, horrifying. So that's The Tourist Trap. That is basically one of 3 micro short horror films that I want to make if we hit 20,000 for Octopunks. So if we hit 20K, this will get made, and I will also do 2 other unannounced shorts as well. I will add them to the pipeline for 2025 and 2026. In terms of release date, I would probably film this in the summer. I don't know. I would actually probably film all 3 of them in the summer while Austin's home and stuff. And then, you know, the release dates would just be staggered, the 3 of them. Because if they turn out actually really good, I might do a festival run with some of them. Honestly, like, this is also sort of a fun way for me to stay on the festival circuit for the next couple of years with a couple horror movies. And so that I can go to some of my old haunts on the festival circuit. But I think this one's the most for sure one. Like, this one seems like it's gonna be really fun. And again, like, 3 to 4 minutes, nothing super long, because it's such a you don't want to overstay your welcome with that bit. But the asylum is hungry. It needs souls, says Vienna Vampire. Yes, exactly. It's like, if I'm an abandoned asylum, I don't want to be abandoned for much longer. I'll have to come up with all sorts of just, like, double entendres. Like, you know, we know where you want to be. Also, I had a really fun time turning the TripAdvisor logo evil. Cause like the actual logo is just like a happy owl. But I was like, what if it was an evil? What if it was an evil owl? Cause that's the normal logo. It's just like an actual owl. So yeah, just fun shit. So that will be, like I said, part of our 20K 20K milestone. And we are, as of now, still, yes, $3,500 away. And we have 9 days to go. And in terms of other stretch goals, remember we've always had the $25,000 stretch goal, which is to make a TV app for Octopunks. So that will remain the same. If we hit 25, we'll do that. Up till then, we don't have any other stretch goals until like the really, really ambitious 50K, which is the Hotel Octopunk Murder Mystery LARP thing. But because there were so many like votes for the other three things in the poll, which was a show starring Chartreuse, a solo play tabletop RPG show, and the Blair Toaster 3, The Curse of the Blair Toaster. There were votes. There were lots of votes for those three things too. I do believe that if we were to somehow hit 25 and then exceed that, and then we were in that $25,000 zone between the TV app and Hotel Octopunk, I will introduce some of those other poll results in like 30. I knew it was gonna happen. I was like, should I turn my phone down? I was like, nah, I'm gonna risk it. I'll risk that I won't get a spam call in the next 20 minutes. Damn it. Foiled again. Duolingo really thinks you should learn these demonic lines. He does kind of look like the Duolingo owl. It'll just be a trilogy of haunted owl apps. That's also a really funny idea for a short, actually. Like, if you basically, like, Duolingo wants you to learn the Latin, and it's just like you start reading the Latin, and then you just hear, like, chanting, like, in the distance, and it's like, why do I hear demons? Like, why do I hear Hungarian chants? Y'all coming up with great ideas for horror shorts right in the chat. I don't think I can make both. They're too similar. But that's actually a really funny idea, too. That seems like a Michael Whaley idea. Whaley, you should get on that one. That would be fun. Unless I literally made them a trilogy of, like, haunted apps, and it was like a series. It was like a triptych. Oh, man. That's so funny. Now I'm like... Now it's got to be in Romanian. Romanian choirs singing Latin, raising like, and then like a hellmouth just opens in your living room, and it's just like a guy who's like, "Hey, I was summoned." Like, "Oh, I was just catching up on my Duolingo streak. Sorry, Satan." But yeah, so I will introduce some of those other stretch goals in between, like 30, 35, and 40 probably would be our milestones for those other three things. I don't know in what order yet, because Chartreuse and the Blair Toaster 3 tied, so I don't know which one would come first. But yeah, I do think, like, if we hit 25, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep introducing things for us to rate. I'm honestly surprised we might hit 20. So I think that's really been wonderful up to this point. The fact that we've already met the goal. Like I said, thank you. Round of applause to everybody who's helped out. And remember that it is 9 days left, so you still have time if you haven't jumped on Eternal, VIP, or early memberships. There's a lot of benefits. You can visit octopunks.tv to see all of the details, and also link to the Indiegogo page. And also the Indiegogo is igg.me/@/Octopunks, which I'll throw in the chat. Oh my god, Grace and Envy, it's been 10,000 years since I made it to a stream. Well, I literally just summoned you because I said the word Chartreuse. I said Chartreuse might be a stretch goal, a Chartreuse show, because it tied for second in terms of the number of votes for what a stretch goal for Octopunks should be, a show starring Chartreuse. I've not elaborated on what this show will be. I have an idea for what it would be, a couple ideas. we'll see. But yeah, that might be a 30 or 35K stretch goal. We'll see. I probably is gonna eke out Blair Toaster if I'm honest, because I really actually do want to do. I feel like the one thing that is missing from Octopunks Year 1 is Chartreuse content. I do feel like we need some Chartreuse content. Yeah, like my boy's lonely, just sitting over here on the shelf, but he says hello. How can Chartreuse just see, like, you don't see the little cell phone that he has in his hands participating in the chat today, but he's there. Timmy, I'll just need to make Blair 3-ster myself. Funny enough, if I do make Blair Toaster 3, I feel like I gotta recruit Timmy to be in it in some way. Like, I feel like Timmy is like the copycat Jane or something like that. Feels like a natural conclusion to the trilogy. Oh, but we got one more thing to announce today, and that is Patreon. So, as you know, we're closing Patreon in January as we transition over to Octopunks. And also remember that, do I have my card here? Oh, yes. You might get one of these in the mail if you've been on my mailing list at any point. It just informs you of what we've got going, and the fact that this link is still available for memberships. I do think we're also going to do an in-demand campaign as well. And in-demand basically just extends the campaign beyond its end date, so you might still be able to get some memberships through the end of the year, even after the campaign ends. I do think I'm going to close that in January, though. I might let people sign up for the beta through the Indiegogo, but in-demand will definitely be over by January 31st, because then we will transition, you have to go to Octopunks in order to get a membership. But yeah, so this is this might be mailed to you if you've been on some kind of mailing list at some point, or if you get Patreon mail naturally. But you do get to keep your Patreon tenure, and that also includes, by the way, if you have closed your Patreon membership at any point in the past, like if you closed it sometime this year, if you closed it 2 years ago, I still have the record of how many months tenure you had. So if you were a Patreon member from 2019 to 2021, you racked up 24 months, 2 years of membership. You will still start with 2 years of membership. So every tenure you have collected on Patreon up to this point, I'm just porting over. So that's just something good to know if you're like, well, I was a Patreon years and years ago. I never got back into it, and now I don't want to start over with my iron-on patches and all that sort of stuff. You won't. You won't start over with iron-on patches. You will continue to accumulate from where you left off. So that's just another thing I kind of wanted to point out. I've been doing kind of a database of making sure I know kind of what's what and who's who and how long everybody's been part of the system and everything. And I'm also cross-referencing with that with people who've already joined Octopunks and things. So I'm getting the back end developed. But yeah, I know there are a few of you who have fallen off in the last couple of years, either due to finances, lack of interest, whatever. And so you'll be able to come back and not be penalized for it. Come back, try our new stuff. And also this does include your any memberships that you get through the Indiegogo campaign. So if you get an annual membership through the Indiegogo campaign, you'll be considered starting from your tenure just like everybody else, and then you'll just have your first year prepaid, or for 3 months prepaid, however many months you get. And then Eternal is basically you'll just keep getting patches on the anniversary date for as long as the site is alive. So that's really the way to just be a forever member, to just prepay and never have to pay for Octopunks again, to get one of those Eternal memberships. You can also gift memberships as well. If you want to gift somebody a year, if you want to gift somebody even an Eternal membership, and you've already tapped out of your rewards and you don't really feel like going further in the reward stacking, because they do accumulate, your donations will accumulate over the campaign. You can also do that. Just send me a DM or something and let me know that is what your intent is. But that means that this is our final Christmas card for Patreon. I do think I'm going to continue doing these, though. I really like doing the holiday cards every year. So I think this is one tradition from Patreon that's going to stay. I don't know in what capacity I'm going to offer it. It might just be a thing where I just sell them. Like I just put them up for like $10 on the merch store or something every year. Not sure how I'm going to do it in future years, but for now, $10 and up patrons in December can anticipate getting this in the mail. It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Pig. So in the past, we've done Present Iggy, we've done Snowman Mitten Iggy, we've done Santa Iggy, we've done all sorts of different kinds of Iggies. This year, it is Rudolph Iggy, Reindeer Iggy. So I know that Shibam Patel and me and Austin are on this lineup of people who have signed. I'll try to get a few more others before the end of the year who are local and who can pinch in and sign this. But yeah, this will be our design for this year. Is we've got Iggy, festive as always, on the holiday card, in a Rudolph reindeer design. I already know what I want to do for next year too. I usually have them planned out a few years in advance, because I have to order them in like July so that I can get people to sign them, and then a lot of times people don't. But yeah, so that if you want that, you can join our final month of Patreon, even just as a one-off for $10 and up. So Ninja says, I was on Patreon but stopped because of finances. I plan to join the VIP now. My finances are all fixed. To get the Christmas Iggy, do I need to join back to Patreon? Yeah, so just join for the $10 level, and you'll get one more month on your tenure for it. And then I think you can probably just quit immediately. I think you can quit immediately, and it'll still count. Like it'll still basically like count as you've paid for that month. And also, I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen in terms of billing once I think what I'm gonna do, just to like wean everybody off it and not cause any like big hubbub and allow me to like work through the transition, I think I'm gonna pause billing in January and February. So basically nobody will get billed, but you might get locked out of old content. But it just freezes everything. Like nobody will get billed in January or like after like December. And then the website will still be up, the Patreon will still be up while I figure out what to do with all the content that's up there. Because we've got 6 years of photos, scripts, live streams, like all sorts of stuff, group calls, that I'm sure that you guys still want access to, right? Like I'm sure you still want access to be able to like watch some of the BTS streams and that sort of stuff that we've done in the past. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the really good ones, because like they're still hosted on YouTube. I'll take the really good ones that I thought turned out well, and I will basically include them in your membership for Octopunks. So I'll probably just have a section of the Octopunks website that's just a link to all the unlisted like YouTube videos that were previously on Patreon. But that is a transition that I need to actually put the time into doing. So until then, Patreon will just freeze in January. But yeah, Ninja says, I have a little photo book of all the postcards. They're like my own Pokemon, Octopunk Pokemon cards. I always wonder what people do with them. There's so many at this point. I don't even know if I have all of them, because a lot of times I had to get rid of literally every last one of them in order to fulfill orders. And so I actually think I don't have a full set, funny enough. But yeah, we've been doing it since May 2019. And for the first 3 or 4 years, we did them every single month. And then the last 2 or 3, it went every other month. And then the stickers were every other month. So I don't even know. There might be like 60 at this point, 50 of them. I mean, so many of them. And it's amazing that I've worked with enough people to have had like 50 postcards at this point. But yeah, I love the holiday cards. It's one of my favorite times of year to be able to send you guys that. So I think I'm gonna keep that tradition up further along. And then, as Ninja mentioned, there is the VIP option on the Octopunks, which is you basically get like a subscription box in May and November, and each of those will be there'll be autographs, there'll be merch. There will be probably like posters and things. Like it's just like a box of stuff. And you'll get those 2 times a year. They'll also be revolving around like different projects. I think this first one is probably gonna be, I think I said Live Screamers is probably going to be the first one. And then the second one is probably going to be Lotso. Like most likely going to be Lotso in November. So I've got Polaroids. I've got like all kinds of like fun stuff. This is typically the stuff that you would see for like Indiegogo campaigns or our Patreon monthly mail is kind of all just going to be like funneled into these boxes. Also, VIP gets cards on your birthday. That's something that I haven't really talked about much, but it is something that I want to do. If you are willing to provide your birthday and you want to participate in that perk, I would love to send you like a little Iggy card every year on your birthday. I think that would be just like a little something extra for our VIPs. Watch us go in the future, go to Octopunk events trading postcards for rare ones. That is kind of funny to think about, actually, to do like a swag swap or something like that at an event, like trading cards, because some of you at this point have done so many like Indiegogos and charity streams and that sort of stuff that like a few of you probably have duplicates of some of them, because it gets to a point where if you've been with me for so long, I don't have anything new for you. If you get a bonus Patreon card or something, you probably just have bonuses. While there's also some people who just discovered us late and haven't been able to go back and accumulate them. I think one of the things I might do on the Octopunks site is just like another landing page is actually archive like all of them, like show all of the different like postcards and just do a collage of them so that you can actually see like a historical record of like all the different cards. It would also be really cool if you could do that on your profiles too, but I think that's a little bit too much. I'm getting too ambitious now, I think. Give all the postcard stats and we can have battles. I love that, Ninja. Like actually make it a trading card game with people's autographs. Just like, I got the super rare RK900 That Droid in Heels JJ card from August 2021. It is worth 9 charisma. Just throw it down against the Chris Trindade black and white guitar one from April 2020. I love it. You guys are the best. So yeah, like I said, we've got one more Opmu of the year. That is on December 30th. I will be doing our Octopunk Rewind. I'll be premiering that, our yearly end of the year little montage highlight reel video thing that I always post. So that's going to be on December 30th, right before the new year. I might also announce when our Octopunk Showcase will be then as well. I think I'll set a date for that. And then, of course, I will be giving more information about the Octopunks beta, which will be opening on January 1st. So that'll be right before then, and you can get all the information about that. I will have all my Patreon mail sent out by then. I will also begin to send out those Octopunks bingo cards, too. I want those out by the end of the beta, by the end of January. So lots of things in the coming months. I'm continuing to work on Lotso. I also have some streams to catch up on Patreon this next week. I'm probably not going to do very many. I might do one tomorrow, and then I might do one on like maybe Friday. Maybe Friday. I'll still be behind one. I think the fact that it's Thanksgiving and then I'm traveling is really like, I'm basically out of commission from like Wednesday of this week through Thursday of next week, which is like a huge. I'm donezo to like December 5th, December 5th. So like it's a big chunk of time. November got out of here like it had somewhere to be. So I'm still behind, but we'll get caught up on Patreon by the end of the year for sure. So many things being announced and still under wraps, as Brittany. Yep, we've got I will fulfill these obligations, so help me God. I'm not overstretching myself, though, I promise. Like, I have looked at next year. I think next year is a year of streamlining the stuff that I want to be able to build for you guys and share with you guys. And I think a lot of energy is going to go into building Octopunks and building its audience and its subscriber base. A lot of it's just direct going to people who have made art for the community before in the past, who've been Patreons before in the past, and being like, hey, you want to come back? And also, particularly for people who have done art in the past, you don't have to be a paid member in order to participate in that part of the website. You can just be a free member on the community board. So I think like that's kind of the appeal of like, just come archive your stuff. If you want to participate in the other stuff and you want to watch Ships and Giggles, that's between you and God. But like for just come back and like hang out, like meet some old friends and have a little bit of a reunion. I'll post the Blu-ray edition of Detroit Evolution on the site, which will be a slightly improved version from the YouTube version if people want to watch that and finally have like a slightly better, more polished version of Detroit Evolution to watch. They'll be able to see that. And yeah, we'll just all hang out and try to grow, and I'll continue writing and getting Lotso out there, getting some of these shorts out there if we beat our $20,000 goal. And Brittany at Fallout Sanctuary will also be in the pipeline for things for me to work on. So yeah, we'll basically keep chugging along. And then the Live Scream Remaster, that's probably going to be my first big project once I wrap Lotso, is getting Live Scream Remastered together, because so help me God, I need to finish that. So all sorts of things. God isn't Texas since he went on vacation to visit that asylum, says oh, yeah, Fallout Sanctuary, it's on the list. It's one of those things that, like, we'll see if it gets pushed aside for something else. I mean, it's always the thing that sort of, like, gets sacrificed if something else comes up, and it does seem like something else always comes up. In this case, it was Lotso. Lotso was the thing that kind of, came up, and I wasn't expecting to get a grant, for a mocap project, and that I did, and so it's like, okay, well, that's the next year. And then Live Screamers took a year longer than it was supposed to, so it's always something, right? It's always something, but I think that the light is at the end of the tunnel, so we'll see. I think honestly, if I'm gonna be real transparent, the thing that is probably going to usurp Fallout Sanctuary, if there is going to be a thing that usurps Fallout Sanctuary in my schedule, is probably going to be Live Screamers House of Souls, the video game that I want to work on. Like, that project could very well balloon out to be a lot more time consuming than I necessarily expect it to. And I also am still on the fence about whether or not I even want to do Fallout Sanctuary in the Fallout engine, or whether or not I want to make it in Unreal. That is a debate that I am also still having with myself a little bit, and I need to do some tests before I figure out the logistics. I know that it definitely makes it more legally gray, but I'm also kind of like, it's still a fan project, and technically speaking, the machinima itself, like even in engine, wouldn't be particularly above the line. So like, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other, and as far as I'm concerned. But I do think it would look better in Unreal. I'll say that, and also I would have more control and replicability of the actual animation. But as Lotso is showing me, like, Lotso is also proving to me that this process can be a very long time. Part of the reason Lotso's process is taking so long, though, is because I'm cleaning up so much mocap that was captured in the raw, which would not be a problem with Fallout. I would use pre-existing assets. So, yeah, it's just I have to do some debates with myself. I have to just sort of figure out what is the best way to make that series on me, but also as far as the actual end product. Like, do I want the face movements to be really, really realistic? Do I want the characters to move in a way that is more emotional and is more expressive, which you can't really get out of Fallout? Or do I just want to say fuck it and make the whole thing a podcast? That's also the debate of just like, maybe I'll just make it a podcast. Maybe it'll just be a podcast. Maybe it won't be animated at all. It'll just be a podcast. That's my break in case of emergency idea. If I can't actually get the animation to work in any capacity, it'll just be a podcast. Voice acting will just excel in a podcast. But we'll see. It's on the docket. These are things I'm thinking about at the very least. So we got that and all sorts of other things to look forward to. But if you haven't already donated to the Octopunks Indiegogo campaign, please consider doing so in the next 9 days to help us reach that $20,000 milestone and help defend me against evil TripAdvisor. I need to get the word out about this through this short film. I would love to be able to make this. I think this could be really, really fun. It sounds like you guys are into it too, even though it might not be as cool as that Duolingo owl idea you came up with in the chat. So this and 2 others if we hit 20K by the end of these 9 days. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining me. As always, stay great, hydrate, and have a happy